Well, hello, welcome to Renovation Sportfish. My name is Bob, and I've been renovating this 1973 Egg Harbor Sportfish boat for almost 10 years now. This is going to be my 10th year this summer. It's winter right now. Sorry about the noise in the background. It's a really windy January day here, and things are flopping all over. But yeah, and so this is a project that I just do in my my spare time. I don't do this for a living. And I just take my time and take each project as it comes and try to do the best I can and make it the best I can with the skill level I have. So no rush to get it done. I mean, I want to get it done, but when it gets done, it gets done. So just having fun doing it. And now having fun sharing it with YouTube. So anyways, in this episode, well, let's back up here. Last few episodes I was working on the cockpit deck and hatches and building those. Those are far enough along after the last episode that I could kind of move on to something else, which I was very glad to be able to do because that took a long time. Now in the next few videos I'm going to put out, I'm not going to follow a strict timeline because I was working on multiple projects at the same time, and I think it would be better to just cover the projects individually, so I may be jumping back in some videos down the road here. But today, this video, it's going to be starting building, you see how windy it is, it's shaking around, start building the panels that are going to go up against the transom in the cockpit. There's two panels, and I'll go through all the old panels and show you what those look like, and this episode is just going to cover cutting the new ones out, fitting them, and that's basically it. And in the next episode, I'll actually install them permanently, and we'll get that done. So I hope you enjoy this video and you come back and watch the next one and the one after that and the one after that. So anyways, here we go. Let's start with the work for this one. Today we're going to start another part of the project, and that's going to be to make some replacement panels for the transom. Now this is one of the original panels here in front of me. It's the port side one. It's 3/8 inch plywood. I don't think it's marine grade. It's not stamped anywhere. But it does have a lot of knots in it that were never dealt with at all. So that indicates to me that it's not marine grade. When they installed this, they just screwed it right to the transom, no adhesive, nothing like that. And then they installed this laminate, white laminate, on top of it to cover everything up. Then they installed this teak block and this cleat. Suffers from a lot of rot on the bottom. They didn't do anything to the edges to protect it at all, and the deck just came right back here and all the water just got right in here and just rotted it all. So I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it a little differently, but we'll get into that when I'm actually installing it. But what I want to do today is bring these over to the boat and just see how they fit with the new deck that I put in, just to make sure the camber is kind of close. If it isn't, I'm probably going to cut a strip of door skin or something and hot glue it down here to get the actual curvature on it. The first thing I have to do is remove this cleat. Now I'm going to retain this block and this cleat because the teak block is in good condition, the cleat's in good condition, and it's a good way to preserve a little bit of the history of the boat. I may get this cleat re-chromed someday. I don't know if I will or not, but it's down the road. I can use it as it is. So I'm going to take this cleat off, and I was trying to figure out how they actually put all this together when they installed it originally. And what I think they did was they fit the cleat to the block and then used the holes that they had for the bolts here to mark on this panel, which I think was already in at the time. And then drilled these clearance holes for the nuts right through the panel while it was in place. And the reason why I say that is because I can see where the pilot bit was for the hole saw they used. It's drilled right into the transom, and you'll see that when I'm over there. And you can see where the hole saw kind of cut into the fiberglass a little bit. So that makes me believe that this was already in when they did it. The one issue I think there is with this whole thing is if you want to take the cleat off to maybe revarnish this teak, which judging by the cleat, I don't think they did. So got varnish all over the base of it. But if you ever wanted to take it off to do that, which I would probably do, these nuts are, I don't think they're captured anywhere. They're just, I think they put the cleat on the actual block and then installed the block with these screws with the cleat on it. So I think the nuts would probably just fall and just dangle, roll around in this thing here. I'll have to see when I take it off if there's anything gripping on the washer to hold the nuts on, but I doubt it. So I'm probably going to do something a little different than this. I want to kind of capture the nuts so they don't, if I do take the cleat off, then at least they're going to be in there. So I'm going to have to figure that one out. I have a couple ideas kicking around in my head, but I'll figure that out later. So for today, I'm just going to take it off. I'm going to trim off these screws for the teak block because I don't want to take the teak block off today. I'm going to take the plugs out and mess with that to do that. And yeah, that's what I'm going to get going on. I'll clean up both of these and bring them over there. Anyways, yeah, if you ever unscrewed these screws, these would have just fallen around there. You never would have got the cleat back on. So that's probably the first time that cleat's ever been off since 1973. So yeah, we won't do it that way, but we'll figure something else out. So I'm over here at the boat. I've got both panels kind of laid in here, and they fit pretty good. The curvature pretty much matches. It's a little bit different over here, but that's okay. And it's a little bit different in this corner on this one. And of course the center doesn't match up, but they never really did. But I wanted, this one right now is perfectly on the center of the boat at the bottom here. But by the time you get to the top, it's tipped towards the port side. So I'm going to mark where the center is here, and then probably shift this one over and get this one right on that line. I know where to cut for the center when I make my panels. But the bottoms are fitting pretty good actually, and the tops a little high for my liking, but I might lower them down a little bit. There's a little more gap over on this side than that side. I don't think it has to be jammed up so high over there. Yeah, so instead of making a template, I marked off the bottom with a line, traced the camber, and then just cut along here, trim this down. Now I'm going to go fit it in and see how I did. Okay, so I trimmed the bottom of both panels, and we got a nice tight fit at the bottom. Center's fitting pretty good too. When I push them against the transom though, they separate a little bit, so I'll have to compensate for that when I make the new ones. But yeah, got a nice fit at the bottom, so that's the important contour. The top still needs to be marked. So I've got the panels back home in the shop, and I'm ready to transfer the dimensions of those onto these pieces right here. Okay, so as you can see, I've clamped one of the panels onto the piece of 3/8 plywood. This happens to be the starboard side one. And now I'm going to mark around it. I'm going to use a pen just because it's easier to see on the wood with the grain pattern. And then the other thing to note is at the top, to mark that, since I trimmed the bottom so much on this panel to get it to fit in there to match the camber of the existing deck, this was like way off, and it was off all over different distances, so can't really use this top edge as any kind of marker or template. So what I did when I was at the boat is I took this before I removed it off here, and I just went along, had it set at 5 inches, just went along with this against the highest point back there and just made a line. You can't see the line from over there, but there's a line that goes all the way across this thing. So now I have it set at 4.5 inches, ½ inch smaller. I'm going to use this line that I made out there to mark the top part of it. And that'll get me kind of in a ballpark. At least it'll give me room to kind of get this thing in and start fitting it. Once it's fit, I'll set this to a smaller, maybe an inch or something like that, and just go along the whole top of this, you know, once I get the bottom fitting and everything, and mark the top of this panel, the new one, and just trim it all so it's all has the same gap all the way across the top. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to mark these things up, cut them out, and then go over to the boat and try fitting them in, see how they work. What I'm going to do today is put some fiberglass on this back side. I'm going to fiberglass from like here over because this is the exposed area that has that air gap. I'm calling it air gap, but there's a gap between the transom and this panel of about, I'm going to say, an inch or so. So I want to have some kind of protection on there in case water gets in there. Just don't want to paint plywood. So I'm just going to put fiberglass on there. So just one layer, and that's going to do it. But before I do that, I have to prepare these edges on this front side. Now from this area over to right here is where that airspace is. So I want to round over this top edge just so the fiberglass can come over. I'm going to fiberglass this side too with a couple of layers, but I'm going to do that later. So I just want to have that going so it's a nice smooth edge and all these sharp edges up here. And this little area here, this is in the center where I'm going to be screwing it on. This doesn't have to be rounded over. And neither does from this area all the way around the top and down this side. What I'm going to do there is just chamfer this corner a little bit. That way when I install it, I don't have to mess around putting a fillet here, because I'm going to tab this in with about a 2-inch wide piece of fiberglass tape. And that'll just make a nicer transition. So I'm just going to do that with like a dual action sander and some 80 grit paper. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want something to make the transition easier and not have to mess with a fillet. So I'll do that in those spots. And then in the center, right here, it's fine. It just butts up against the starboard piece. So that's it. And of course the bottom's fine. It already fits. I don't have to do anything there. So it's basically, you know, this whole top perimeter area. Okay, so all these edges are sanded and rounded over and everything I had to do here. Now they're flipped over and we're on the back side facing up now. I've cut a couple pieces of Dynel, which I'm going to use. I mean, I have all this stuff. These are scraps, so I might as well just use what I have. They fit perfectly on here. So next thing to do is to wet this out and put the fiberglass on. So we're finally back at the boat, and I'm finally back filming something. I took a little break from filming things because all I've been doing is sanding and fiberglassing and epoxying stuff to get it ready to do what I'm going to do actually today. So what I'm going to actually do today is try to fit the transom panels onto the transom. Okay, so here are the transom panels. This is the front side of one of them. This is going to be the starboard side one actually. And, or no, actually, yeah, starboard side one. So there's 2 layers of Dynel fiberglass on here. It's all been sanded, like I said. Pull it out here. You saw me beveling this piece down, and I routed this edge here, and this is where the gap is, and I'll show this in a minute, on the transom. So there's actually an airspace back here, so I just rounded this top edge over in this area, and then this all around here is all beveled, and you'll see that closer when we get going. And then on the back side, I just fiberglassed this area, 1 layer of fiberglass. This is, like I said, this is the area that has an air space, so water could get back here. So I just fiberglassed the whole thing. I could have stopped it back in here, but I just went to the edge. This is where it's attached to some wood here. I mean, to the transom here, and over in this area where the wood is, that's where it's all going to be epoxied onto the transom, so there's no need for fiberglass there. So these are the 2 pieces. They're ready to go. And now I'll show you what I did on the transom to prepare it to get these things fitted. Okay, so we're looking at part of the transom that I sanded, starboard side. And to sand that down, I didn't use a grinder because it just kicks up too much dust everywhere. So I actually used, and hopefully this focuses in here, this thing here on my drill. I used my little 90-degree drill to get up in the top area because it was tight. And then on the bottom I use this. It's got a 2-inch disc on it. And it's a pretty rough disc. But the disc lasts for a long time, and it worked really good. There, that's the starboard side. I filled the holes. That's the little patches you're seeing. And then we'll just pan over, so in the middle. And then you got the port side over here. So that's all ready to go. And all ground down. The areas in between are the airspace, so nothing touches that fiberglass there, so that's good to go. So now we can start actually fitting these panels. So one of the features I added that the factory didn't have was this little lip right here on the back. The way the factory had it was just an edge here, and the water could just go right underneath the panel and down into the bilge. But I added this. Really didn't want the water going down there for one, but actually it's more to be able to attach the bottom of the panel to something so you couldn't kick it or move it. So that's what this lip is here for, if you were wondering and you didn't see previous episodes when I put that in. So I went through and I sanded all these patches because I was noticing that some of them had a little bit of ridges of epoxy and things on there. So everything's sanded flush. There was a couple other drips and weird things going on. So I didn't want anything to like hold up getting the panels nice and flat against the transom here. So now that I did that, I can start fitting these things in my 90-degree drill. And then actually this drill, I actually cut the drill bit down because it was too long. And I'm going to need this to get up underneath here. And even with that cut down, it's still pretty darn close to hitting. So I'm going to have to see how that works. I'm going to have to cut it even more. And that's really it. That's why I'm going to need this hand one, because I have to get that up in there. This bit is way too long. I guess I could get it probably in there somehow, but I don't know. We're going to figure all this out as we go along. For screws, I want to use 3/16 screws, but they didn't have wood screws that were short enough. These are 3/4 of an inch long, 3/16 stainless. They don't have any wood screws that were short, this short. Just because these are self-tapping screws, because they don't have like a shoulder like a wood screw would have, so it gives you more thread actually. So I'm going to use these. I don't want to go through into the hole. That would be the worst thing. So these are really, they're still going to get pretty good engagement here, and it'll be enough. I'll put enough in to hold it, but it's going to be epoxied in, so I'm not too worried about it. This is just like a holding thing. I'm not going to sink these too deep into the plywood either, because I'm not going to plug these with wood plugs or anything. I'm just going to fill them with epoxy. We had to put this wedge in right here, hold this in. We couldn't hold it by hand. That's all right. Pretty happy with it. There's a little bit more of a gap on the bottom. Once I pushed the panel up against it, pulled the bottom up and out a little bit. But that's going to be filled with epoxy, and there's also going to be a base trim on here. It's going to cover all that up again, so not really real big worry at all, really. And you want some epoxy in there anyways. You don't want the wood right on the surface, because then you're not going to get the seal. So anyways, I like it, and now we'll put in this one. Alright, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, come back for the next one. So until then, have a good one, and we'll see you really soon right here on Renovation Sportfish.